Presented by Caltech.
Welcome to today's explorations of the future of science and its impact on society. This is a quintessentially Caltech conference, intellectually compelling and festive at the same time, celebrating the quintessential scholar and citizen, Ahmed Zewail, Caltech's Linus Pauling Professor of Chemistry and Professor of Physics. We are privileged to have a distinguished lineup of speakers and participants, and I am delighted to extend a special welcome to Egyptian Ambassador Lamia Mekemar. On the occasion of Ahmed's 1999 Nobel Prize in Chemistry, Tom Tombrello, Division Chair of Physics, Mathematics, and Astronomy, remarked to the BBC, "You have to think of this place as Hogwarts Academy. This is our local magician, our Harry Potter." Ahmed is indeed a wizard of scientific innovation, developing instruments that can interrogate nature in fundamentally new ways and defining new directions that cut across the physical and biological sciences. His fervor for discovery continues unabated, and he serves as an inspiration to students, postdocs, and colleagues alike as a still magical but even wiser Dumbledore. Today's program focuses on possibility. Ahmed Zewail instantiates engineer and inventor Nikola Tesla's description, "The scientific man does not aim at an immediate result. He does not expect that his advanced ideas will be readily taken up. His work is like that of the planter for the future." The seeds that Ahmed has sown at Caltech have taken root across the globe, most directly in the realm of science, but as powerfully in their effects on society. In the discussions that follow, we are charged to use our own talents to help further Ahmed's remarkable vision. Thank you. It is my pleasure now to turn the podium over to my colleague and friend, Provost Ed Stolper.
Thanks, Tom, and I want to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to say a few words about Ahmed. And the reason it's a pleasure is Ahmed is a friend and has been for some time. He's been here for 40 years, I've been here for 37. And we have gone to innumerable lunches, always at Celestino's restaurant. We always share the Bronzino and have, because he likes it, extremely hot cappuccino. I've never asked him why, but he makes a point of it. And also, I've had the pleasure of having him come to my children's bar mitzvahs and weddings, and so we really are friends. Let me talk a little bit about the context, I think, of I speak, I think, for all the faculty and what we hope to achieve, but the ideal at Caltech, I've always believed, is to try to pick out young scholars, people at the start of their career, and bring them here as faculty members, and they have their ambitions, they have the things that they know, and they have a desire to make a difference. But the magic is to place them in the context of the Caltech environment. And the Caltech environment has a certain set of opportunities and expectations. And basically, in sort of a Lamarckian kind of evolution, we all evolve in real time, just like the giraffe extending its neck. You know, it's not how it really happens, but we do extend our necks, and we become something different from what we learned, because we are evolving in the Caltech context. And the idea is that each of us has within him or her the opportunity to make great discoveries, to make a difference, not to just do things that are incremental. And what Caltech tries to place upon us, to emphasize, is that we should maximize. We should take the opportunities to maximize the chances that we will make such a set of distinctive discoveries. Elliot Meyerowitz, who I saw here, and I like to quote this, I did it yesterday at another event, once put it, "We want Caltech to be the one place where scientists and engineers are limited only by their imagination." And this isn't only a statement about resources. It's a statement about institutional values, creativity, and ambition. And it's something most of us do respond to. And I would say that Ahmed, who came as a 30-year-old scientist, has responded to this, and he would argue that it's not simply his drive and his abilities, but his drive and abilities in the context of Caltech, its expectations and its opportunities that has allowed him to achieve the things he's achieved. So we're all very proud of him, and it's of him as an individual, but it's also an expression of our institutional values. For a very small number of people, and we don't expect this of our faculty, all of them, they have a broader societal impact. They take the creativity, they take the integrity, they take the credibility they've earned by being an outstanding scientist, and then they transfer it to try to influence the world. And there are a few people, they're not all that rare, but they're rare. And I know that some of them are inspirations for Ahmed. Linus Pauling, and he holds Linus Pauling's chair, did this. Claude Legge, whom we both know, has done this. And Benjamin Franklin, and we'll get back to why Benjamin Franklin is important in a moment, did this in spades in the early part of our nation. And so that's the second part that's really quite special, and it's the reason this is a science and society. Ahmed has had influence and impact both in science and also in a societal way. Now, strangely, the program and everything I've seen says that this is to celebrate Ahmed's 40 years here. But in fact, today is his 70th birthday. So we're celebrating his birthday. And now, it may have been yesterday. I don't know what time of day you were born, Ahmed, but in Egypt it may have been yesterday. But it's still this date. All right, and when you have a birthday, you always have to have presents. I like presents. I can't speak for the rest of you. So on behalf of Caltech, we have gotten a gift, which I think is unusual. And it's the only book published, upside down, by Benjamin Franklin during his lifetime. Published in I've already forgotten, 97 or 99, something like that. Actually, I think it was 1777. I take it back, 1777. He was our ambassador to England during the war. And it's a measure of the respect he had for his science and his effect on society, that he was the ambassador of the ones they were at war with. And the book was still published in England and was very influential. It has all sorts of great stuff in it. His address to Parliament about the Stamp Act in the 1760s, but it's got good science in it. It's got the stuff about his lightning rods. It's also got an explanation for the aurora borealis, which he didn't know about charged particles coming from space, but he did know about charged particles, and so he had an idea about how you could generate the aurora by electricity using Hadley cells, which had been discovered by Hadley and Haley sometime before. So it's a wonderful book, and what we're going to do is get it signed, there's a little inscription, by all of the Caltech presidents, Tom Rosenbaum, and also all the ex-presidents. I'm going to give this to him for a moment, because then I have to whisk it away to get it signed by some of those that aren't here. And in particular, we have a president who lives in Saudi Arabia. But he's in Boston this week, so we're going to send it to him, get him to sign it, and send it right back. Anyway, it's a great pleasure, Ahmed, to be able to be here and to celebrate your 70th birthday.
So I'm very honored to be introducing Ahmed, and also to go before Jackie Barton, even though Ahmed joined Caltech in 1976 as a professor of chemistry, and only later in 1995 joined the Division of Physics, Mathematics, and Astronomy as a professor of physics. Now, Ahmed's pioneering work on fast pulse femtosecond lasers falls very much in the realm of experimental physics. So would seem natural that he would have been a member of PMA. However, before the PMA faculty could accept him into our august ranks, we had to have a vote And this vote was before my time as a faculty member, and so I was kind of curious to know what the report looked like, because it would seem that, Ahmed was quite eminent at the time. And basically, these reports are usually several pages long. This one was a few sentences stapled to his CV. And the sentences said, well, Ahmed for a long time has been recruiting our very best graduate students, so we should make him a professor of physics. And after the vote, Ahmed tells me that David Goodstein, one of our physics faculty members, called him to congratulate him on his promotion to professor of physics. So I asked Ahmed what he most enjoyed about being a member of PMA, and in fact, he did say it was having mentored some of the brightest students in the world. One, Milo Lin, is here today, and he holds a powerful position at the University of Texas relating protein folding to diseases. But Ahmed has also trained many students in laser physics and related fields, and these students have gained tremendously from being exposed to the incredible breadth of Ahmed's research. And it's this kind of cross-disciplinary fertilization that really is one of the hallmarks of Caltech. Ahmed is a very special kind of scientist. And Jeff Kimball, who in PMA is probably closest to Ahmed scientifically, put it very well, I think. He said that Ahmed is someone who never has average goals. If he's going to try something, he's thought critically about the importance of the problem. His experiments are technically very demanding, which is easy to overlook if you read the papers, which are very matter of fact. We did A, then B, and observed the following phenomenon. And if you know the field, you know usually the phenomenon has never been observed before, and most groups can't do A or B, never mind A and B. So we are indeed extremely honored to have him as a member to have had him as a member of PMA for the last 21 years. And now I'll turn it over to Jackie Barton, the division chair in chemistry and chemical engineering.
I need to go up a little bit. I want to welcome everybody here on behalf of the Division of Chemistry and Chemical Engineering, because, after all, in part, today is a celebration of chemistry. I can't help but say that. And in particular, it's a celebration of the contributions to chemistry that Ahmed Zewail has made as professor, Linus Pauling Professor of Chemistry, and I guess also Professor of Physics. Zewail was able to monitor transition states on the time scale of chemical reactions. We now call that femtochemistry. And what that really means is he has been able to watch reactions as they occur on the time scale of a millionth of a billionth of a second. Remarkable. That's the time scale of the making and breaking of chemical bonds. For this, he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1999. It turns out I have the distinct honor, and it was my pleasure, to be able to collaborate on a couple of papers with Ahmed. And it really was very special to watch the process that he undergoes, that he takes on. He has this intuitive sense of the dynamical motions of atoms and molecules, their coherence, or lack thereof, as the case may be. And then he has this extraordinary attention to detail, to every detail, so that he's able really to meld together theory and experiment and understand that dance, that choreography of atoms and molecules as they carry out a reaction. And that's really, in my view, what I've seen to be special, so special about Ahmed. Now, Caltech is a special place. It's a very special place. But it's not because of the buildings, not because of the instrumentation or the facilities. It's because of the people. And as Ed talked about at the outset, Caltech has this remarkable way of nurturing people to be able to do special things. And so 40 years ago, Caltech took a bet on this young Egyptian who had a vision. The vision was to watch the dynamics of chemical reactions, to watch reactions happen on faster and faster time scale, indeed to watch the making and breaking of chemical bonds. And as that process developed, I think there were many that thought he couldn't do it. And that in fact, that maybe it wasn't even possible, that you'd be perturbing the reaction as a function of monitoring it. But in fact, Zewail was able to carry out those experiments and realize that vision. And so I think it's important for us all to be celebrating that, along with saying happy birthday. Enjoy the day, Ahmed. You deserve it. And thank you, because like Linus Pauling, you have been a special part of Caltech and a special part of chemistry. So thank you. And now let me turn this over to another dear colleague in chemistry, Peter Durbin.
You know, Jackie's amazing. She does that with no notes. It's amazing. Thanks, Jackie. So I now have the pleasure to introduce Ahmed Zewail, the Linus Pauling Professor of Chemistry and Professor of Physics. But before I do that, Ahmed, I'd like to join Ed and give special thanks to Tom Rosenbaum and Ahmed and the other organizers who put together this fabulous program of world leaders to talk about science and society and to help celebrate Ahmed's 70th milestone. We're all very excited to be here and to hear the lectures. You know, as session leader, I worried about what my role was, so I dropped by Ahmed's office just this week. And I realized in introducing Ahmed Zewail that it would take a half hour to catalog for you his prizes, his awards, his honorary degrees, his research accomplishments. And so in his office, Ahmed sitting in his chair, he looked at me and he says, "Peter, it is simple." That's what you said. He said, "You were there at time zero." So 40 years ago. And I remember the day he came by Caltech and gave his lecture to interview. So that's it. I've witnessed it all, 40 years together at Caltech. You know, as a 30-year-old young man arriving at Caltech in 1976, I think we're both very unsophisticated, but Ahmed worked 24/7, and our two cars would be in the noise parking lot, which doesn't exist anymore, until 11 o'clock at night. And Roger would try to figure out, I think there was an unspoken game of who would pull out the car first. So if I left at 11, he left at 11:10. But we never talked about it, and we became fast friends as two young assistant professors. As Jackie said, Ahmed's big bet was femtosecond spectroscopy, a vision to study ultra-fast dynamics of the making and breaking of chemical bonds. And I recall many conversations in his noise office with his UCLA colleague, Dick Bernstein. And we, Ahmed and I, spent a lot of time discussing the lifetimes of 1,4-biradicals over pizza in a dingy corner restaurant in California in Wilson. And so as Ed was making his remarks, I realized, my God, my pay scale has really gone up, because now we have lunches at Celestino's, which is much more upscale. I mean, this was really a dark little restaurant with no windows at the corner of Wilson to talk science. Well, of course, the Nobel Prize in Chemistry came in 1999 for his development of the field of femtochemistry, and everything changed. Over the next decade, I watched this young man grow in sophistication. He became a leader in global affairs, particularly as it relates to science, education, and world peace. In 2009, he was appointed to Obama's President Council of Science Advisors on Science and Technology. We call it PCAST. and was appointed in that time as the first United States science emissary to the Middle East. And he was very excited to take on this task. Very excited, I remember. We all remember during the 2011 Egyptian revolution, Ahmed was on CNN News assuring us all that everything would be okay and spending his time talking to the young people in Cairo. Ahmed has a vision to build a Caltech in Egypt, the Zuwail city of science and technology. Do not underestimate him. He has demonstrated he is a formidable fundraiser and a very sophisticated negotiations with the government of Egypt to make this a national project. So he will be successful, I'm sure. Despite all of this global effort in the last decade and a half, he's found time to give 500 named plenary keynote lectures while writing 600 articles. I mean, I'm exhausted in the fields of science, education, and world affairs. And on a personal note, he has served on the Scientific Advisory Board of the Welsh Foundation since 2002 with Roger. And so we really treasure those 2 times a year we get in a room together and have dinners. Now, I have to end by mentioning your most recent scientific passion. As my mother said, no grass grows under Ahmed's feet. His most recent big bet will be 4D electron microscopy, imaging molecules and materials in the 3 dimensions of space and the dimension of time. Yet he continues to write about global affairs, and his most recent book is Reflections on World Affairs, Peace and Politics, published in 2015. Astonishing. Where do you get the energy? The title of Professor Zuwail's lecture is Caltech, Personal Perspective. Happy birthday, Jacqueline.